Hi, you've made it to Module 7 of this class. Wow, just 2 more weeks to go, and you've got this done. All right, the theme this week is leading through change, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the challenge of change before you get started on this week's assignments. Now, the reading assignments all come from one person. This is the only week where we're going to do this, where they all come from one source, and that is the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. These reading selections will, I hope, provide you with some insight into exactly how when in very changing times, how a really thoughtful, intelligent leader brings an organization, in this case the country, through some very turbulent challenges. I'd like to talk to you too right now about the challenge of change that you might be experiencing in your place of work or in your professional life. There are a lot of untrue sayings and assumptions that people make for workplace wisdom, but I have to admit there's one cliche mantra that I think actually does bear some repetition right now. The one constant is change, and it's true. Change is constant. It's so constant you would think you'd be used to it by now, but you're not. Whether your organization is struggling to find and retain talent, your team is tackling a new direction, or yet another departmental reorganization is taking place, we all face change frequently. And staring into its beady, persistent, and often scary little eyes. Leading through change gracefully can seem impossible at times. You don't know when the next twist or turn is going to take you, and even worse, your team might feel even more anxious because they assume they know less about the future than you do. And the important thing here is to not let change overwhelm you, and as a leader, not to let yourself overwhelm your team. And that's where some of these tips can help. So the next time you're faced with sudden change, handle it in stride with these simple but crucial do's and don'ts. First of all, do share what you know. You're not the only one feeling dazed and confused at the onset of a sudden change. Your team is right there with you, and they're far more anxious than you are. Do your best to fill them in on important details, deadlines, and objectives as you find out new information. Keeping the team informed will alleviate some of their worries and empower their cooperation in the days to come. And here's a don't. Don't forget to make time for questions. As you head out on a new direction, it's crucial to leave the door open for team members' questions and concerns as they arise. Reiterate to the group that you're available to assist in any way you can and encourage them to share their worries. Set aside time for questions as you're explaining the change and ask things like, is there anything I can do to help you? To demonstrate your commitment to helping the transition go as smoothly as possible. Here's a do. Do outline the plan. Once you're oriented about what you need to get, make a plan for how to get there. And don't just share the broad picture. Instead, put together a plan and let the team give input where appropriate. Asking individuals to contribute thoughts and ideas to the game plan will help them feel ownership and boost their confidence about the directives. Another don't. Don't try to tackle everything at once. When you're navigating through change, diving in head first is not a good idea. It may seem tempting just to rip off the Band-Aid, so to speak, and usher in all the elements of change all at once. But imagine how much more disruptive a new daily schedule, a change of management, reorganized office space, and reworked individual roles can feel when they're all unloaded on a team at one time. As much as you can, try to gradually roll out the change your team is required to make and give team members notice so they aren't caught off guard. Back to the do's. Do mitigate conflict. When your team is headed down a new path, conflicts will inevitably rise. Many team members haven't clarified their new roles, or perhaps they're just frustrated with the pace of change. Whatever the reason for the conflict, it's the leader's job to help resolve it in a constructive and positive way. Be around to assist when miscommunications or misgivings arrive and encourage constructive resolutions. Your transition will be much smoother for it. And finally, one more don't. Don't fail to applaud great work. A lot of leaders get so preoccupied with directing and managing changing environment or the direction of their team that they forget to thank the team members when they do great work in the midst of the transition. But you can do better than that. Set aside a time at the end of each week to reflect on the great things your team has accomplished and start Mondays off by delivering well-deserved kudos. It's the best way you can show that your team's efforts are invaluable and that you couldn't have made it this far without them. In the end, leading through change spotlights and condenses many general leadership best practices, but the crucial difference is that during times of transition, your team needs your leadership the most. So that's it. Read this week's selections, reflect on President Lincoln and his challenges through leading through change. And I'll look forward to reading your comments on the discussion board as well as in your written assignment this week. And I will see you next week for our final week.